Welcome to the 19th episode of the Tertius Times podcast. Today is Thursday, September 16th, 2021. I'm your host, Brian Wright, and I want to change the normal focus and look at how church ministries are aiding prisoners and the homeless in 3 different articles. As I announced earlier, there will be no interview segments for this week, but I have 2 interesting interviews scheduled soon, and those will be coming out in the next couple of weeks, God willing, so stay tuned. Today, we will look at issues related to global prison systems and an empirically validated effective prison reform program, as well as looking at one example among many of churches working together to assist the homeless in their community. The link to the stories are in the description. As I announced previously, there is also an upcoming USERP event you are invited to join entitled Strategies for Religious Freedom in Fragile States, and will take place online next Wednesday, September 22nd at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Registration is open and is free. Details will be provided at the end of the podcast. The link to register is also in the description. Quote, Dr. Byron Johnson, founding director of the Institute for Studies of Religion, ISR, at Baylor University, unquote, according to Baylor University research, provides evidence Prison Fellowship International program transforms prisoners and prisons. From the Standard Newswire, September 15th, 2021, states that the, quote, in-prison program, unquote, Prison Fellowship International, PFI, which seeks to restore those affected by crime and incarceration to make communities safer and healthier, quote, provides evidence that the faith-based course transforms prisoners and leads to culture change in prisons, unquote. Dr. Johnson hails the PFI program as, quote, one of the centerpieces of the emerging field of positive criminology, unquote. Over 460,000 inmates worldwide, including South Africa and Colombia, have graduated from the in-prison program, which, quote, measurably increases prisoners' motivation for identity transformation and growth of virtues, unquote, as well as reducing, quote, negative feelings and the risk of aggressive behaviors, unquote, also according to the article. Quote, more than 70% of these graduates have continued in a follow-on discipleship program, the article stated. The program is, quote, centered on the book of Mark in the Bible, facilitated by trained inmates or volunteers, unquote. The Baylor University study, which included, quote, Dr. Sung Jong Jang, research professor of criminology, co-director of the program on pro-social behavior at ISR, and co-author with Johnson of the book, The Restorative Prison, released this month, provides empirical evidence for the program's effectiveness. In response, Andrew Corley, president and chief executive officer of PFI, stated, quote, we could not be more excited about the work and the results that this study represents. Breaking cycles of crime and the restoring of lives for those who have been in prison is a complex issue. Ignoring the body, spirit, soul tripartite nature of what is necessary for successful reintegration and rehabilitation will result in continued disappointing outcomes. But this study provides proof positive that better outcomes are possible, unquote. While governments continue to pour money into criminal justice systems that provide scant impact on the lives of the prisoners and their families, this volunteer-led program has proven to be a much more effective way of transforming the lives and reducing recidivism among prisoners than taxpayer-funded programs. For more information, see Dr. Byron Johnson's Institute for Studies of Religion ISR page at Baylor University and the newly published book, The Restorative Prison, which is available at Amazon.com, among other booksellers. The links are in the description. Pray for the work of Prison Fellowship International, that all those who are involved, from administrators, staff, and its army of volunteers, would be guided in their works and deeds by God, so that those hearing and watching those people may experience the love of God and in turn receive the gift of freedom, not only of body, but of heart, mind, and spirit as well. In a related story, Prison Fellowship was, quote, awarded a community innovation grant from the Bush Foundation to spread the practice of using a prison culture assessment instrument to improve prison environments in North Dakota, unquote. As stated in the article, Bush Foundation grant seeks to equip transformative changes in prisons from StreetInsider, September 15th, 2021. The grant is meant to be, quote, an investment in an equitable future where every person has the opportunities and the support they need to thrive, unquote, which in turn, quote, reduces recidivism and increases opportunities for success with the prison's community partners for currently and formerly incarcerated people in North Dakota, unquote. The Bush Foundation was founded in 1953 to support, quote, organizations and people who think bigger and think differently about what is possible in their communities, unquote, including Minnesota, North and South Dakota, and, quote, 23 native nations that share the same geography, unquote. As was mentioned in the previous article and restated here, Prison Fellowship reaches out, quote, to prisoners, former prisoners, and their families, and a leading voice for criminal justice reform, unquote. Pray for those churches and believers across the United States and around the world looking to improve the lives of prisoners, particularly in this case, those in North Dakota, working through Prison Fellowship and any other ministries that may be reaching out to help as well. This is one of many current articles that demonstrate how effective the intersection of social issues and faith can solve some of the most stubborn problems of the U.S., as well as, of course, the rest of the world. In this case, Springfield, Missouri public station KSMU, in their report, Area Churches Are Working Together to Keep Springfield's Homeless Warm This Winter, published September 8, 2021, 6 area churches are joining efforts to, quote, try to expand cold weather shelter options for the city's homeless this winter, unquote. This brief article mentions there are 2 programs that churches are combining resources on, quote, one is an alternative shelter site that would be open every night during the winter. It would be open for anyone regardless of gender, which would allow couples to stay together. The other is cold weather outreach. Last winter, the Connecting Grounds created a nightly outreach team to check on those who could not access shelter and to distribute supplies. The churches would also like to expand that outreach with more volunteers and more items distributed. As shown here, a GoFundMe campaign has been set up. Pray for those homeless in the Springfield, Missouri area, as well as, of course, all those who suffer from the same plight across the country and around the world. Pray for those churches committed to reach out to those who suffer from the same plight across the country and around the world. Pray for those churches committed to reach out to those people who have no place to lay their heads. Pray that their work may be fruitful to supply those who do not have and help to increase the numbers who join the family of God. As I have been announcing all week, this is a reminder that if you are interested and can make it, this hearing on religious freedom is scheduled for next Wednesday, and you can join in the online event by registering through the link in the description. Thanks for joining me today. I hope you found the information presented here useful and that it encouraged you to pray for these areas of concern and perhaps even inspired you to take positive steps of involvement to alleviate the suffering of so many around the globe. Thanks again for listening, and I'll see you next time.